Okay, so we are going to start a schedule from scratch. So the way you do it is you go to projects up here, actually enterprise projects. And it shows you all the, no. Okay, so you get a list of all the jobs. So I'm gonna collapse it so you can see where you can save it. So you can see we have OCLA commercial, special projects, target markets, healthcare, and then just general stuff. So we're OCLA commercial. So I'm just gonna go here, right click, and then I'm gonna go to add. And you're gonna get a little pop-up that asks a little description on what you want. There it is, coming, there it is. So today you want to add a new job in OCLA commercial. Yes, next. New project ID. This is where you can put, like, let's say you have a project number or anything special on the job, you put it in here. So on this one, I think it's called, you remember what it was called? Southwest. I'm gonna just copy the same name as the last one, phase 2. Right? And we can change it down the line.
So if you already have a schedule in there for Southwest, can you automatically use the one that's in there and update it? Or do you want to resubmit one?
We can do both.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me do this. That's actually a good idea. Do you want to just run it within the same schedule?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to show you how to create it. Let's just pretend we're creating one,
Okay.
and I won't create it. So LAX, Southwest, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, let's do that. So you go through it, press next, and then you put plan start. So if you have a start date, sometimes it's just, you probably don't have one, you just today. And then if you have a must finish by. So that must finish by is what sets your float. So if you put must finish by October 15th, and for whatever reason, when you do the schedule, you're in October 30th, it's going to say you're minus 15 days.
Right.
That's what triggers your float.
Okay.
If you never tell it when it will finish, it will never, you're never late.
Yeah.
Right? You can change it later. Okay. Yeah. So then you go through it. Responsible, I just leave that one. And then I think that's it. I don't want to press finish because it's going to create it. So that's how you would create a job. Okay, so right now, since we already have one, oh shit, it actually did create it. So, no, it went away. Oh, perfect. So let's see, I can actually see that job that we're trying to find, but let's say I couldn't find it. I just go Control F. This thing pops up, and this is where, if you're pretty descriptive on the name, it's going to help you search for it down the line, right? So I know the word GSC. If I just search for LAX, I will get a ton. But if I search for GSC, we're probably not going to get that many. So do GSC. Yep, there it is. And then if I clicking next, see there was another GSC, Provo site, and another United GSC. So actually, I guess there's a lot of GSCs. And we're back to ours. Okay. So, and here it's there. You can see that I created it, opened up on February 16th. And that's the name. So I'm gonna right click, open. Okay, so that's the job. Just open it up and I'll collapse it so you can see. So essentially I have just 3 sections. Just imagine these kind of like folders, right? So this is a big file cabinet, and within that file cabinet there's 3 folders. There's one called bidding, and if you open up that folder, there's a few pages of these activities. And then if you open up this folder, there's more folders within that folder, right? So you have one for ASRs with a bunch of activities, for demo, and then construction. So since we have 2 phases, what we're going to do is we're going to do this. If you go to project, let's say I wanted to change the name here. I can't do it by just double clicking here, right? You have to go to project, WBS, and it opens up this new tab, and it just gives you that same folder structure: bidding, subcontracts, construction, right? So what we're going to do is, since we're creating 2 jobs within the same job, we're going to create, I'm going to right click. You can right click anywhere and it'll add a folder right below it. Right click, add. This is, I'm going to add a folder right below the main folder, and it puts it at the bottom. So I'm gonna call this phase 1. Phase 1. I'm gonna right click, add a folder, phase 2. All right. So all the ones that we had already created, technically they're in phase 1, right? So now how you do it is you can't just grab it and like hold it. You can't do that. So I'm gonna grab phase 1 and take it all the way to the top. So there's these arrows. Phase 1, take it to the top. And you see how they're all aligned here? That means they're all in the same, they're all equals, right? But what I want to do is I want to put bidding inside folder of phase 1. So if I press to the right, see how now you see a little line here? And it's a child of that folder. So now it's in there.
When you click on that one, it'll give you the sub folder.
Yep. So I'm going to do the same thing with subcontracts. I'm going to send it to the right and
Bring everything to phase 1.
into phase 1. To the right. And then I'm going to just see it kind of reorganize it. So I want bidding at the top, right? Boom. Okay. So now, so we're already set up for phase 1. We already had it. So now we got to set up for phase 2, right? So I'm gonna. The only reason I'm gonna keep it open is this. I'll show you. So you see how phase 2 it kind of it threw phase 2 underneath it. Maybe I accidentally clicked it, right? You see how if I collapse phase 1?
Yeah.
Oh no, actually I guess it's not. We're good. There's no line there, so we're good. So now we have phase 1, phase 2. So now we want to create folders in phase 2 the same way. So right click, add. And I'm gonna add, how many folders do you think I'm gonna add? 3. There you go. So I'm gonna just add 3. Keep on clicking on that one. And I have my 3 folders. And then I'm gonna go to bidding. That's the only reason why I kept it open. I'm gonna copy and paste that in here. The same name. The same process. And this is where you guys are gonna get comfortable on how you guys like to organize your schedules. And you guys can set this up differently, right? I just like it like this. Is kind of simple. I like a quick bidding phase. We have submittals, subcontracts, submittals, and procurement, and then construction. So now I did that. Okay. So this is called a WBS, means work breakdown structure. It's just the way you organize the schedule. So if I go back to activities, now you see the phase 1. You have bidding, subcontracts, construction. But you don't see the rest. You don't see phase 2, right? And the reason is, since there's no activities, the filter, if you go here under group and sort, you see how this thing is checked off. It says hide if empty. It says, hey, if there's no activities, I'm gonna hide those categories because there's right after a while, yeah. So I'm gonna uncheck it, press OK, and now you see them, but they're empty. You see how I can't click plus because there's no activities. There's nothing going on, right? So we're gonna do it a couple different ways. Let's start with bidding. Let's say you have 2 options. I can probably copy these into that one. It's the same activities, or I'm gonna just create some new ones. So I'm gonna right click, add. Boom. So now we have an activity. See that? There's different ways of adding, right? You can write. Yep.
Can you pull from the previous one, say the second folder, pull all those activities into your folder, and then all you're doing is changing the iteration?
That's what you do.
Okay.
So I'll show you how to do that right now. So we're gonna do the bidding first. So I can right click and keep on adding, or also if you press just insert on your keyboard, it adds. So insert, I'm gonna add the 3 activities, and I'm gonna just copy. And this is the long way, right? So I'm showing you the long way to do it if you're doing it from scratch. Starting a brand new one, yep. Okay, so I created the activities. And before I go to the next, I usually like to tie them up. And just so there's different ways of tying them. Let me make this guy bigger. So bidding is the first thing that happens, and then Southwest will review, and then NTP happens, right? So I can, if I hover right at the end of bidding, you see like I get that little, what's called a pitchfork, the black thing. I click it, hold it, and I'm gonna drag it to the beginning of Southwest. So it's saying, hey, the end of bidding triggers, it kicks the start of Southwest review.
So those activities
Yep,
Oh,
and I'm gonna do the same thing here. Drag it, take it to the front. Boom. And nothing happens, but if you press F9, keep an eye on this area here. Right now they're stacked. I press schedule, it's gonna cascade. Boom. So now they're tied. Right? So we just did that. So subcontracts, submittals and procurement, and this is where we're gonna go back to the things that I asked you to track, right? You should track, like you just heard Joseph right now. Our schedule may push because of procurement. It always pushes. So
especially right
the more you try to track the items that you think are going to push, put them on the schedule, right? So there's two different ways to do it. I can continue adding activities, but in this case, if you look, I'm going to close bidding now and focus on some. If I open up subcontracts and middles, there's more little folders now within that one. You see that? So if I just add an activity, oh, it's almost topping out. If I add activities, it's going to add them. But what I want to do is I want to add another folder. Like you see how I have an ASR, I have demo, I have fencing K-row, right? So we'll do two. One the hard way is I go in here and I add a new folder, not an activity. And we're going to track lights, right? Lights. Boom. So now if I go back to activities, I see lights now, right? And usually the way I track every sub, I do an activity for subcontracting, like the actual contract. Another one for them to do their submittals. We review their submittals. The owner reviews their submittals. And then the time to procure them. Yeah, or 5 activities within that folder, right? So now that we're in lights, we created a folder. Remember, I can right click and add a new activity, right? But instead of doing that on this one, I'm gonna just grab these since they're already there. Right click, copy, go to lights, right click, paste. And it's gonna say, you want to paste these activities, you want to keep their ties, keep the everything. Yes. Press OK. And then it says, do you want to rename the activity ID to something special or just keep it the same and add 10 increments of 10? So you can see how this is 1030, 1040, 1050. It's increments of 10. I could do increments of 1, 5, 100, whatever I want. I just leave it at 10. Press OK. Boom. So now lights, it's already built, right? So we already have it. And the only thing we have to change now is if we already know that the lights are going to take longer, let's change it, right? So instead of 5 days, let's plug in something more realistic. Maybe it's 30 days, right? And then I'm going to just F9 it just to make sure this kind of, the logic was maintained, the ties. It is, right? Okay, so that's one. That's one way to do it. So now we want to track the eyewash station, right? So here's another way to do it. If I go back to the WBS, under subcontracts, remember we had demo, fencing, doors. I'm gonna just copy one. If I copy it from here, copy the whole door. Remember that door is a folder. It has its 5 little activities inside. If I copy it from here and I go back to here, I want to copy it from this subcontract to this subcontract. Right click, paste. Same thing, it's asking the same questions. Press OK. It's going to copy doors again here. So now we have doors twice. But on here, I'm going to just rename it to eyewash station.
Gotcha.
So now we're tracking lights and eyewash station. And if I go back to activities, see, they're already here. Eyewash station. Right? So you can copy it from on the WBS or you can build it right here from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now, let's say those two are the only items that we want to track, right? And if you want to do more, now you know how to do it. You just copy the whole section, right? The whole light section or a whole eyewash station. And so we got 20 days. Let's leave it for now. Okay, now we're going to go in construction. And this is where in construction, you can kind of create little mini folders within it, right? So on the last job, if you look, I created a section for temp fencing, a little section for demo, a section for the new work, and a section for temp fencing removal. And within those, there's a few activities in every one of them, right? So in this case, it's a TI. It's pretty simple. You kind of organize all your activities like in one. But let's say you had like an IT room,
Mhm.
and then a conference room. You could create conference room, IT room. So it's really how you kind of think of your job and how you want to organize it and convey it to the subs. So right now, you're going to give the subs one big area and that's it, which is fine, right? But let's say you wanted to split it, you can split it more. So we're going to go and I'm going to just press insert. I like insert on my keyboard. Enter, insert, enter, insert, enter. I'm going to just create a bunch of activities, right? So we have, and if I create more, I can always delete them. Okay. And then I'm going to just go through Victor's list and copy. Okay. For demo, lights removal.
Each one of those is its own folder right now, right?
No. So these are their own activities. They're all within the construction folder.
Okay. And with those
Yep.
activities, are you can add more activities within that activity?
No.
Okay, so it's just summed up in
Yeah.
one overall.
One overall folder. They're all within the construction. But yeah, once you create an activity, that activity cannot be a folder. You can go back and create a folder,
Okay.
right? So let's say painting and exterior, we wanted to detail out that one a lot more. I'll go back and create a folder called painting and exterior,
Okay.
and then I add activities within that one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go. And here's like, you see how, okay, perfect. Eye wash station, inspections. So I'm just kind of going down. So this is where sometimes it's just easier to build it here than Excel. Because it's almost the same, right? And once you kind of get used to it, it's a lot quicker actually on P6 and it's easier to change. Oh, I added the perfect number of activities. Okay, so now I can go and tie them. So right now, if you look, demo and light removal are starting on the same date, right? So let's do this. Let's add just because NTP. So demo and light removal, who's going to be doing that for you?
It's gonna be Jason.
Okay, so the demo crew, right? So if I were to tie, let's say, typically you would think that, hey, as soon as I get my NTP, I can start demoing, right? So I can grab this NTP and tie it to this demo activity, right? Notice to proceed, right? That seems logical. And you see how this subcontract, it's following NTP right here, right? You can maybe not. Let me see. Oh, hold on. Let me F9. Okay. So if you look, we have NTP here. So this is now we tied in activities within each folder, but now we want to tie in like NTP will trigger us subcontracting the eyewash station sub, right? So I'm gonna grab NTP, the fork, and push subcontract. I know that should push out. There it is. Right, that makes sense. We cannot start subcontracting that guy until we get our NTP, right? It's just the same thing with the light guy. We can't start subcontracting until we get NTP. So now this is making more sense, right? So you almost got to follow, try to look at the schedule linearly, right? So now, perfect, we're subcontracting. So now you see the demo. Remember I tied it to NTP. But in reality, what do you think we're forgetting? No. Well, safe off too. Who's doing the demo? Can they start as soon as we get NTP and say demo go? No, we got to contract them. We got to do the same thing. So even though we're not tracking them for procurement purposes, we're tracking them for contract purposes. So I'm gonna go back to the WBS. What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna copy the light the light procurement little folder. Right click, paste, and right now it's gonna create another light. But what do you think I'm gonna rename this to? Demo, right? We gotta track that demo sub. So I go back to activities. Now he's here. So we're gonna subcontract in 5 days. Submittals, he needs to submit some kind of plan on what he's going to do, his safety stuff. We'll review it, owner will review it, but procurement is not going to be 30 days. There's nothing to procure, right? So we'll just change it to 1 day. Maybe he has a scraper. So now, watch this. Right, here, let me F9 it so you guys can see it. Remember, it's not tied. So now we got to tie it to NTP again. Push that subcontract. And this is where like this little activity will see we're saying that we can start demo on March 10th, right? Before, because NTP is on March 9th. But in reality, if that demo sub needs to get all his paperwork ready, I'm gonna tie his procurement to this demo, and this is now the real date. So a lot of the times we get in trouble because we don't add that time in our schedules. So we always promise that we're gonna start demolition a lot earlier. But in reality, it doesn't happen. There's a lot of paperwork, right? So track that paperwork. So watch this. March 9th, look at it now. Let's see how many days we're going to lose. April 4th, right? So imagine if you miss that on every job, you're always late to begin with. And you always look silly. Because, well, your schedule showed that you were starting on March. Like, oh, yeah, I didn't really take into account all the paperwork. What the fuck, right? So that's super important. So now at least we have a good tie. So now what triggers the light removal? Also that demo guy, right? Or actually, maybe it's your electrician, right? Lights removal, let's say it's your electrician. So, and this is where, should I tie it to we already have an activity for an electrician, right? So I don't want to create another one. We already have one for lights. It's the same guy. But you don't want to tie it to procurement. So as soon as he kind of does his subcontract or his submittals, his safety stuff, he can probably start safing off. So I'm going to tie it to this activity. As soon as he's done submittals, which is kind of his paperwork side, he can start demoing lights. Boom. Cool. So see, you can start lights. Why can't you start lights a lot sooner? Oh, that's what. Okay, you know what? Let's head to A&E review. No, you know what? Let's do this. Since the demo guide doesn't really have submittals, right? We're gonna call this submittals safety plan. But you know, I mean, the reality is we have to review it and the owner has to. So let's keep it. That's a little conservative. We'll do the same thing for this guy. After the A&E review happens, we'll do the lights. F9. Okay, so who's taking longer? We want VCT to start first, or at least at the same time. Okay, there it is. So they're kind of, now they're demo, light removal, they're all happening at the same time. Okay, so now you have deep cleaning of concrete floors tied to your lights, it seems like?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Perfect. So, yep, I'm gonna go to light removal and take it to deep clean. It's there, F9 it. You'll see that deep cleaning is gonna drop down here now. Boom. So now it's kind of looking like yours, right? So painting the exterior and new electrical is tied to which one? To deep cleaning? Yeah. Okay. Deep cleaning. So I'm gonna grab deep cleaning. It's tied to painting. And it's tied to new electrical data. Cool. Okay, there it is. Okay. What triggers the eye wash station, the installation? But how did you know here? Yeah, you just guessed? Okay, cool. So now what are we going to do? We're going to tie the procurement and eye wash station. Procurement to here. So now let's see where that puts it. I'm going to put it out here somewhere. Because I can see it, right? Procurement's here. See, eye wash station's down there. Okay. What triggers the inspection? So see, you were probably a day early because your work is done here. So your inspection should have actually been here, right? So we'll tie new electrical and painting the exterior to inspection. Okay, so new electrical. I'm going to tie it to inspection. Okay. So now inspection will drop out here. Okay. So what triggers patching holes and painting interior and grid? Okay. So is this is probably rough inspection,
Correct.
right? Okay, so let's rename it. I'm gonna call it rough inspection. Okay, so then rough inspection triggers patching holes and painting an interior grid. Cool. All right, so now we're kind of okay. Then the end of those two things trigger final cleaning, and okay. So you don't have a final inspection probably, right? But we can add it. So now, so your final inspection happens after your testing, right? Insert, where's my insert? Okay. Cool. So now it kind of looks good. It makes sense. So the only thing I have to do now is every time you add an activity, by default, it just does 5 days, right? So we'll change it now. So demo VCT, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So I'm gonna do 9 days. And remember, this thing already takes into account holidays. So light removal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one's good. Deep cleaning, 5. You're good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go deep cleaning 4. Painting exterior. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9. New electrical data, also 9. So you want 2 weeks, so should I do 10?
Yeah.
Okay. I like 5, 10s, unless you have a specific reason why 9. 9 seems kind of random, right? Yeah. Eye wash station 2 days.
I think
The holiday.
Right.
Yep. Rough and
This thing doesn't take
inspection.
initiation till weekend, right?
Not this does. This doesn't. Yeah. That's why this is just it's smarter, right? And it keeps you more out of trouble. And look, if this thing shifts, let's say you had a long weekend. If it shifts, now you have to redo everything because there's no more long weekend potentially, right? So patching holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And painting grid, you had 6. Final cleaning, you had 5. Okay, perfect, perfect. So we have 5. So now, and this is where, so you were saying July 1st, right? Yeah. So we still haven't tied it. Actually, we haven't tied lights to anything. And look, I can check if you know how you can check if it's tied to anything? The procurement activity, if I go here, you see how it has a predecessor and a successor. So this is tied to something. Subcontract is tied to submittals, and I can just press go. Go to and went to the submittal. That submittal is tied to SB review, the next guy. Go. That one is tied to A&E review. And then it's tied to procurement. But you see how procurement has nothing here?
Right.
It's not tied to anything. So I got to tie it to your light activity. Where's your light? Which you don't have one, right? But it's important. So before, okay, let's tie it to new electrical, see what's going to happen. So now if I type procurement to your new electrical, boom, watch your whole schedule, bro. Watch that activity. There's going to be a big gap now. Remember that May 20th is bye-bye, June 21st, but it's real, right? And someone's gonna say, hey, you're too long. I'm like, yo, look, because I'm accounting for 30 days of lights. Let's say, oh, I can get them in 20 days. Cool. Put them in 20. That brings it back, right? This is where procurement, most of the time, our schedules aren't messed up because of activities. It's usually we don't track certain procurement things. So now you're in June 7th, right? Why is yours so long? Yeah, we kept the same duration and you were tracking procurement. Huh. So you were starting on May 23rd. Oh, that's what it is. Where did you get that May 23rd? That's where the
Actually, I went out for the schedule that Joseph gave me
Okay.
for phase one.
Perfect. So for phase one?
Yeah.
Okay. So look, we're bidding right now, right? So I'm gonna say we started working on the bid in April. Let's just say March 21st. And we're not gonna have it here. Let me F9 it. I know why. I'm starting it a lot sooner. Okay, so bidding is not gonna be done till it's April 15th. I don't know what the date is, so we can always change it. So I'm gonna call it April 15th, next Friday, right? We submit that number to them. Perfect. So if next Friday we submit it, Southwest is gonna review for 5 days from April 18th to April 22nd. We get an NTP on April 29th. So on May 2nd, you start contracting all your 3 critical guys, right? So now you're in July 29th.
Which is cool.
No, you're a month off of what you had. You see?
Because the lights though.
Yeah, and look, I have the exact same start date, May 23rd. It's the procurement, bro. Look, I can see it. You can see look at the red lines. What's critical?
Those are all timed
Your
lights.
electrical sub because the lights take too long and you can't get your new electrical and data in because you don't have those lights. And that's why so I say procurement of lights and procurement of eyewash stations. I knew it was going to drive your schedule,
Okay.
right? That's why I told you to put that in. So now the installation of owner furnished items, MEP install for demo. So I think you have demo of ceiling tiles. So in here,
I do.
demo VCT carpet flooring.
I planned to do it there. I didn't.
Yep, let's put it in. Tiles. Okay. What else? New lights. Okay, the new lights you had it in here. And here, the only reason why I would do it separate is this, and I'll show you. Let's say, is the lights gonna stop all your electrical and data work?
No.
No, right? So let's just add a new activity for lights. It's probably gonna help a little bit on the schedule. Light install. Okay, so we just have one activity for lights. And you know how your electrical, you had 10 days? Lights, maybe the lights is only 5 days, right? So I'm gonna type procurement of lights to that light, F9 it. Okay. Now, remember this new electrical and data, it was saying we're not going to start it until we procure lights. That's not the truth, right?
Right.
We're going to start it because we can start half of it, let's just say. So I'm going to go back to it, go to relationships, and see it's tied to that procurement. Procurement 1520 is here. I'm going to break it. I'm going to take that tie off, remove it. Okay. And now F9 it. So we were at July 29th. Now we're at July 14th. That actually helps a little bit. So the only thing we need to do now is tie the light install to our rough inspection, which will push back a little bit. But I think we'll gain 5 days. Yep. See, it used to be July 29th.
I know.
Now it's the 22nd. So it's saying, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do all my new electrical and data, but I won't install the lights until here, until the end. So we have lights, demo ceiling tiles, MEP install for owner furnished items. So I noticed that the owner, so sometimes like the owner's going to give you a lot of things, right?
Mhm.
So you want to know when you're going to get them. Because let's say those things require roughing to
Right.
tie in. So what, like I normally for that, I'm going to go back to the WBS. And you see how we're tracking eyewash stations. I'm going to do electrical dash lights. And we're doing demo. I'm going to track the owner furnished items. So I'm going to copy, paste it. Actually, before that one, maybe I'm going to just do a clean one because he doesn't, I don't want to go through a submittal. So I'm going to just right click, add, and I'm going to call it owner furnished items. Then we'll go back to the activities. And here it is. I'm gonna just add a new activity. And I'll call it owner furnished items. Owner, instead of adding like the subcontract, this is submittals, because that's the owner stuff. I don't really care. I'm gonna just add one activity for owner furnished items. And I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna give them 25 days from NTP. I'm gonna tie it to the NTP. And here's why it's important. You're gonna need all his items in for your final inspection.
Right.
Because you're gonna have to hook them up, right? Like clocks and shit like that. So here in the construction, I'm gonna add in owner furnished items. Owner furnished items. And I'm adding an activity for MEP to owner furnished items. Right? Because you're gonna have to hook up electrical, maybe a water line to a fridge or something. MEP to owner furnished items. Okay. No, actually, I'll show you what I'm gonna do. So what triggers the owner furnished install items? The procurement of them, right? So as soon as I procure them, so I'm gonna go back up here to the procurement activity. I'm gonna tie it to here. And once we install the items, we can start doing the MEP hookups, right?
Yep.
What do you think the MEP hookups should be tied to? That's your final MEP hookups to your final inspection, right? Or testing, actually, you're right. Testing electrical and data. We tie it there. Let's see if it, and look, this is why it's important. Right now, it may not be red. It's not. But let's say the owner says, oh no, dude, I'm not going to get that one camera or that one clock until July 15th. You're like, okay, let me change that to July 15th. That's that last item, so I can't call for finals until I get that. July 15th. Boom. I F9 it. You see how it's green right now? Why? It's going to go red. And look at your final inspections. Boom. And now that's red. So it's important to track it, at least to say, look, I always assume I would get all your shit in 30 days. You're taking 35 days. You already knew what I assumed in my schedule, right? Right or wrong. So we'll do 30. And I think at 30, it shouldn't be critical. Yep, there it is. So at least you can always say, dude, you know my assumptions. They were on my schedule. I always carry 30 for you. So now you're telling me it's 80 days. I can't get my final inspections, right? So now, I mean, that's essentially it, dude. So I think we got all the little things that I thought you had missed. But so now you have you got your phase 1 and your phase 2. Yeah. Well, and I mean, you have final cleaning, you have testing, electrical, and data, and you could add punch in there too. You can be doing your punch while you're testing, right? So you can always add more detail. Or let's say they're like, hey, there's a special monitor that we're procuring, and I'm worried about it. Add it. Start tracking that monitor.
Okay.
Like you're tracking the lights, right? Or a fucking toilet, or a tile, or anything that you think is gonna drive your schedule. This is the way I see it is, if anything, especially for these smaller jobs, if anything takes more than 2 weeks, you should probably track it.
Okay.
If it's less than 2 weeks, it's probably gonna be okay. Huh? And that's a problem, right? So yeah.